Alrighty, it's Thursday. That means it's sports and fantasy football Q&A time here on the Schleich Daddy TV channel. I did split this one up into two parts, so sports questions the first part, and then fantasy football is the second part. Let's get going. Want your questions answered? Go to pfspot_Schlegel on Twitter. That's where you can tweet me your sports, fantasy football questions, be answered in the Q&As. If you have last-minute lineup questions on Sunday, that's where you can ask them too. I am Justin Dunbar. If LeBron won 4 titles in Miami, would he still be there and retire there? I don't think so, because I think he knew that the way the Heat were currently constructed with him there, that was kind of the end of the road of them being a real championship contender this past season. So I think he would have been just as inclined, if not more so, to leave Miami to go back to Cleveland if he won 4 titles. I really do. Matt Meffe, 2. Best cornerback, linebacker, and defensive back in NFL history. Linebacker, you probably got to go with Lawrence Taylor. Cornerback, Dion was the definition of a shutdown cover corner. I think Rod Woodson was a better all-around football player. So that's kind of a matter of your individual perspective, I suppose. In terms of defensive back, I think most people, rightfully so, say Ronnie Lott, and who am I to disagree with that? Talk about a guy who was, a Pro Bowler at corner and strong safety, free safety. I mean, to me, that's the preeminent defensive back in the history of the National Football League. Weinstein Andrew, if the Jets land a top 5 pick and draft a quarterback, how far do you think they can go next year? If you draft a quarterback in the top 5, it's not about how far you go next year. It's about how you begin the process of actually really building around that quarterback and where you're going to be 2, 3, 4 years down the road. If you sit there and draft that young quarterback and start him right away and you expect any big things to happen, especially with the mess that the Jets organization is, then you're stupid. I'm just letting you know. Don't get unrealistic expectations. It's not about 2015. It's going to be more about 16 and 17 and 18 than it would be 2015. But, the Jets continue to suck the way they have. They have no choice. I like Geno, but I don't think Geno's got much of a fair shake because of how ridiculous that Jets organization is. But you end up with a top 3 or top 5 pick if you're the Jets. You can't sit there with a new coach and a potentially new general manager and stick with Geno. You got to go with a new face of the franchise and actually build around him. Yeah. You have Gator Chum. Is it ridiculous that an Ole Miss team that lost to LSU, a team that barely beat my mediocre Gators, are in the top 4 of the playoff rankings? Well, sure, it's ridiculous maybe to a degree. I mean, should one loss necessarily define a season? That's what I don't particularly like about college football. I don't like that there's only 4 playoff teams. I think it should be 8. I think it's stupid that it's only 4. And I think it's stupid that so many people naively believe that this is going to be anything other than an exercise every year to try and get 3 SEC teams into the Final Four. Because that's exactly what it's going to be. If there's any opportunity for that to happen this year, it's going to happen this year, and it will continue to happen every single year. And that's just the way it is. So a team that wouldn't even have made that league's conference championship game will end up probably playing in the Final Four in that playoff system. That's just stupid. And that's how fucked up college football is. Even when they do a playoff, they do a half-ass one. It's dumb. Better in the BCS, perhaps a little bit, but how much? Real Benzillion. You being a Michael Jordan fan, did you have a favorite pair of Jordans, and do you own any now, or have you? Well, sure, I've owned Jordans over the years. The only Jordans I have right now are some Hydro sandals. That's about it. Favorite pair of Jordans in terms of shoe-wise would either be the 3s or the 7s. But actually, my favorite Jordan footwear of all time were the downtown boots from about 2001, 2002. I had the, light brown suede. Man, I wish I still had those fucking boots. Those are the most comfortable pair of boots I ever had. I love those fucking boots. Michael Jordan, if you're ever considering doing something different with your shoe line, bring back those downtown boots, damn it. I know I'm not the only one that agrees with that. I am Carlo609. Why do you have Dak Prescott, excuse me, it's easy for me to say. Why do you have Dak Prescott to the Eagles in your mock draft? Because it's a mock draft. We're trying out different scenarios because Dak Prescott may be a second-round talent. The Eagles might not be fully sold on Nick Foles. They may view Dak Prescott as a guy that could fit that system better than Foles and give them more elements in that offense long term. Or it could just be that it's a fucking October mock draft and don't think too much about it. Just saying. Jay Gore 492. Who are your top 5 wide receivers in the NFL right now? And this is still, even if guys have been hurt this year, that's not going to impact my ratings all that much. I think in any particular order, you still got to go Megatron and AJ Green, Julio Jones, and Des Bryant, and I think the fifth guy in there for sure, and he might be higher than fifth, is Antonio Brown. So he's in there over guys like Brandon Marshall and Demaryius Thomas. Yeah, I think Antonio Brown for sure, no doubt in my mind about that. Let's see here. It's Johnny Russo. If Oakland's new GM feels Carr will be their guy, who do you think they will pick first or pick in the first round? I'm thinking Gurley. I will go on record and say this, even if I didn't fully agree with it. If the Oakland Raiders took Todd Gurley #1 overall because they believed in Derek Carr and they wanted to build around Derek Carr, I'm not going to knock them a ton. I don't necessarily agree with the devaluation of the running back position that has happened in recent years in the NFL draft. So, would I knock that much? Not necessarily. If they stuck with Carr and then they took a defensive player with, let's say, the #1 overall pick or a top 3 pick, then they're fucking stupid. I don't give a damn who the defensive player is. If you're going to stick with Carr, then you help Carr and you build around Carr because he has nothing to work with on that side of the ball. Again, I emphasize nothing. Sitting there and keeping Carr and then drafting a defensive player is just dumb. That's shit the Jets would do. Oh, and wait. The Jets will have a top 5 pick in this upcoming year's draft. Why? Because of the shit I'm talking about right here. Chopping it up 68. How long do you think it will take until the Chicago Bears organization will get a clue and get rid of Phil Emery? Probably another 2 to 3 years. Not soon enough. I can't believe I can't remember if it was Sports Illustrated or who wrote the story talking about Phil Emery was a prototype general manager of the future. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. It's scary when you look at some of these organizations and the people that are writing for them and the type of stupid shit that you see spouted off on a consistent basis. That's scary. Those type of idiots get paid to talk about it. So I guess who are the idiots then? Now we move on to the fantasy football questions. Funk Wilder, how much do fantasy football projections play a part in your decision making? They really don't that much because, like if you're in Yahoo League, and I believe the projections are all based off of what Pro Football Focus says, and I got to say this. Every single week in every single league, my projections have been way fucking off one way or another. Sometimes that happens, but when it's a consistent pattern week in and week out, that means those guys need to get out of the fantasy football business because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. When it comes to that, they don't. And in general, like let's say I have a league where my team is projected to score 200 points. Then the team scores 150. But then the next week they're projected for 230 and they'll score 170. You get what I'm saying? It's like it's not even close. The projections are always, and anybody that does Yahoo Fantasy Football knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's like consistently every week. The projections by and large are at least 25 to 50 points off in the too much direction compared to what you actually come in with. Glorious Sports. Hillman or Denard Robinson for my flex this week. If Hillman's healthy, you play him. If not, you go with Robinson and pray. Beam of the Cash Man. Should I start Russell Wilson or Brady? Wilson's matchup is better. Brady is hotter. Good question. Flip a coin. This is part of the problem you run into when I talk about having 2 quarterbacks. You really don't have any because you're always going to be overthinking matchups. You're always going to be overthinking things. It's going to lead to you leaving points on the bench. So it's hard for me to give you advice. In this case, I would go with Russell Wilson because of that matchup. Because I have some fears that Brady might not have a ton of time just because of the fact that Denver can generate some pass rush with the front 4, so that concerns me. And Wilson's going against, the Raiders. I mean, it's the Raiders. And Wilson does have the ability to score with his feet as well. It's Johnny Russo. Who should I bench this week to start Bradshaw? Jerick McKinnon, Lamar Miller, or Denard Robinson? Let me look here really quickly. You got McKinnon is going against Washington, and their defense is actually kind of underrated. Lamar Miller is going against San Diego, who didn't do all that well against Ronnie Hillman last week. And then you got Denard Robinson going against Cincinnati. If you had to pick out of those 3, excuse me, I'd say Denard Robinson. The only thing I would say, though, is that Denard Robinson, if this is a Yahoo league, he has wide receiver / running back flexibility. I'd put Denard Robinson at one of my wide receiver positions. But if not, if you're an ESPN or you don't have that, then I'd probably say Denard Robinson. Peep for Life 83. I just traded Brandon Marshall for Vincent Jackson. Did I get a good deal? I'll give you one guess, and the answer isn't yes. How about that? That's a bad deal. Were there other players involved, or did you literally straight up trade Brandon Marshall for Vincent Jackson? Why the fuck would you do that? That's just dumb. The Owens, since Brian Quick is out, what wide receivers would you recommend? Kenny Britt, Larry Fitzgerald, and Kenny Stills are on my waiver wire. You got to go with the best player of the three, and that's by far Larry Fitzgerald. So go with Fitzgerald. Can't believe he's still on your waiver wire. Vikings fan for life closes out this Q&A by asking, my quarterback is on a bye this week. Which quarterback from best to worst should I add? Flacco, Tannehill, Foles, or Kaepernick? I'm looking here. Kaepernick 1, Tannehill 2, Flacco 3, Foles 4. Yeah, I think I feel safe in saying that. So thanks to you guys that submitted your questions for the sports and fantasy football Q&A. There'll be other content up all weekend and all week long here on the Schleg Daddy TV channel. We'll be back Sunday, Saturday night, whatever the fuck, for the weekly fantasy football only Q&A. Make sure you tweet your questions to me, psspot_Schlegel on Twitter. See you later. Bye.